Welcome to the Niche on Demand Founders Podcast. And today our topic is why are we co-founders? And we're joined by Sabrina, me, and Zena. How are you doing, Zena?
I'm good. I'm really excited to dive into this topic.
Okay, so why are we even asking this question? Because typically when you see studios aren't co-founded, or people might take on different roles within the company. So why was it important for you to be a co-founder, Zena?
Because I can't do it all on my own. And when I met you, recognized you had a unique set of skills that complemented the vision that we both shared. There was nobody who was lesser than or who had stronger skills in their specific areas. And so it just made sense for it to be a true collaboration.
Similarly for me, I can't do it, wouldn't want to do it. Something this big on my own is not possible. I think for that to be the case, apart from a co-founding relationship, there needs to be a community of people to really make this work. But secondly, I thought that this would be a real opportunity to show what a partnership looks like. Oftentimes, because you're dealing with Black women, there is a perception around competition, around women's inability to do work or do business. And not even perception, is a fact in some cases. I've experienced it, Zena, you've experienced it. So it is true in some cases, not true in all cases. And I think it is important and was important to not only have a skills complement, a vision complement, but an understanding of what a partnership complement could look like in this space.
Agreed. And I think this has been a learning journey based on the fact that the concept is one thing, the actual living it live and managing your own way of working within that and also other people's perceptions of how it should work has been another piece to the puzzle.
And what do you think, as two Black women co-founders, what do you think some of the perceptions have been?
How long have we got? This is only a 10-minute podcast, right? I think there's always a perception that somebody's carrying somebody else. I think that's one. I think there's a perception that at some point we're going to fall out, and just waiting for the fallout of that and the entertainment of that, I think has been another piece that I'm kind of conscious with some of the language that's been used. There's a divide and conquer piece in terms of good cop, bad cop, trying to play kind of picking friends out of the two. That's been an interesting scenario. And this whole idea that one is potentially doing the other one a favor. And so in terms of the way that people speak to each of us in a particular context is almost like one of us might not belong. And that has shown up, I think, in different ways for each of us, depending on the context of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it 100 in this conversation.
Keep it 100, man. Keep it 100.
It's been very interesting to see individuals within the Black community who are clearly dealing with trauma, clearly dealing with their issues from either how they were promoted through the ranks, either in entertainment or promoted through the ranks outside of entertainment, having an inability to really relate to what a partnership looks like. And as a result of that, wanting to your point, know who the HNIC is, wanting to undermine it because the knee-jerk reaction is, well, it didn't work for me, why should it work for you? And therefore wanting to destroy when there is no need, or just being disrespectful. And there is grace for some of that. Some of that is just uncalled for. And I think that we need to have a conversation in the community about what we want. Either we want to be Instagram stories or we actually want to be about that life. We can't have it both ways. We can't, on the one hand, on LinkedIn and on Instagram and on Twitter, talk about moving the community forward and being empowered and all the little sound bites that people like to use. But when it comes to actual business interactions and dealings, you're still harboring supremacist mentalities, which has shown up in our business interactions from day dot, from 2018 to now. I think the other thing, in addition to what you're saying in terms of trying to picking and choosing is people not really understanding that this is a business, not a popularity contest. So whether or not you pick or choose one or the other, it doesn't matter. I'm a boss. It goes into my company. I'm good. And that's a difference between an employee and a founder mentality. And whilst popularity contest works in other formats, it doesn't make a difference because it's all coming to the company. It's like the people buying Nike trainers and burning it. You bought the trainers, the revenue's gone to Nike. What you choose to do with it is your business, but the revenue's already gone to Nike.
Right.
And so I think there's a lot of maturing that people in the community need to do.
I agree. I think also we're not sometimes aware of how the systemic behaviors infiltrate how we interact and respond to each other. And so microaggressions aren't just reserved for people that have different skin tones to you. They can appear within the community. And I think we've both experienced those. And it's been important that those have been checked. Particularly in line with what we talked about in our last podcast in terms of our niche on demand state of mind and really operating from a values-based approach. I think the way that business traditionally has been considered in Black communities is an escape from working for somebody else. So the focus has been about being the boss rather than making money. And so from our perspective, there's a power in being autonomous to be able to make decisions on how things work without having to be questioned. But ultimately, we're here to generate money that supports our vision and mission. And so to your point, Sabrina, whoever you like, it doesn't really matter to us. It's like, can you help us to get the job done? And can you help us to fulfill the mission? It's really that simple. And so, as you said, there's grace to a point based on the fact that our focus is laser focused on what we set out to do. But at the same time, to be respectful to each other, which, to be fair, you've helped me to understand that more than I think I understood it before, in terms of how conscious we have to be in order to make sure that we show up in a way where people are clear in terms of how they treat one of us is reflected on how the whole business will feel about them and our relationship with them. And so if you're disrespecting part of the business, you're disrespecting the whole business.
Just on that, not necessarily on respect, but on making money. Do you think people find it uncomfortable that these are the two faces or the individuals behind an organization that is for profit, but very intentional about capital raising in a very, very male and white dominated space?
Short answer is yes. The longer answer, I would say, is based on representation. People don't see two people that look like us talking business, being focused on the cash. That's not the image that's represented of people who access capital or give capital. And so there's a whole cognitive dissonance that happens when we walk in the room talking to people who have capital and people talking to people who want capital. So we're navigating those from the outset. Usually, our characters are the help, the nurses, the supporters, the nurturers. We're not the money people.
And filmmaking takes a lot of money for it to be done. It's not a cheap thing to do, even though we were talking about this earlier, how Black creatives in particular are just underpaid. Even with Black creatives being underpaid, it still costs money for them to do their work. And if Black creatives were to be paid their actual value, the budgets would still be exponential and it would still be difficult to access capital. But I completely agree. I think there is cognitive dissonance in terms of talking cash. I remember one of the earlier conversations we had, I think it's about a year ago now, where we were speaking to a potential investor who at the beginning didn't really take us seriously, then started to get engaged with the projects. And then by the end of it, wanted to pitch to be a board member. It was like watching him go through the whole cycle of disbelief, dismissive, denial to, oh, you make sense. Oh, it does add up. Oh, actually, I do see the value in this. Oh, I think I can be part of your team, yeah. All within a 30-minute conversation, which has been interesting to observe. And I think that's because of the package that we come in.
Yeah, and I think we have learned how to make being underestimated a superpower.
Now, listen, that is a fact. That is a fact. Okay.
Right?
As some of our hip hop heads would say, facto. Okay.
Come again. Wheel and come again, my selector. That is the one.
That is indeed a fact. Being underestimated is a superpower. I used to say being underestimated is a very lethal strategy. And it works to our advantage, sometimes to our disadvantage, because it takes such a long time for it to click. So that can come at a disadvantage. But in terms of the weighting, it is more of an advantage than it is a disadvantage to be underestimated in the way that we are.
And I think we have built structures around to support that. So if you think about how we've evolved as co-founders in Niche on Demand, and we haven't relied on Niche on Demand to generate revenue to pay us. We've relied on our multi-hyphenated ability to generate income so that the challenges of lack of capital, raising capital, haven't interfered with the dynamics of us getting the foundations of the business right and focusing on the strategy and focusing on the end users. And it's given us the space to do that.
I think you might have just given us our next topic, which is our business model, because I don't think a lot of people understand or know what you've just described, that both you and I choose to be here. We are not paid through Niche on Demand. Everything that we do is an investment both from your company and my company into Niche on Demand. And I think that is a podcast episode in and of itself for people to understand the dynamic of how that works, because people might be making assumptions about the fact that we're crowdfunding and we're raising and thinking that we want to pay ourselves, or whatever other assumptions people want to make about where the money actually goes. But I think it's important for us to allocate time to really go through our model so people understand.
Definitely.
That.
There's something in the story behind how you leverage the superpower of being underestimated and build a structure around that to make yourself successful and your business successful regardless.
So that brings us to the end of this Founders Podcast. Any final words about why you are a co-founder?
Because you can't do it by yourself, and iron sharpens iron. It's been one of the most rapidly growth. I've grown rapidly in this experience, more than I have in any other business experience because of that. My closing comments are, I'm just very grateful to have you as a co-founder, and I appreciate your excellence.
For those who didn't detect that was corporate shade that Zena just threw with her rapidly growing experience.
But the pain of change. The pain of change, man. The pain of change. I'm telling you, man, some uncomfortable conversations. I was trying to clean it up.
Corporate shade.
Trying to clean it up. Yeah, she's taking me through the mill, man.
And here's my corporate shade. It's been a journey. Over the past 3 years. It's definitely been a journey, but none that I would change, because equally I've learned a lot, because you are excellent and you operate in excellence. And so when you bring two excellent people together, that's when magic and legacy stuff happens. So it's been a ride, and it's going to continue to be a ride as we grow the mic moment and go on a journey. So watch this space. And we will be back. Not next week, but we will be back soon, because we are about to both be on our respective breaks. It's been a long year. It's been a long year, and we deserve some time off. But we will be back again, and we will definitely be sharing more about our business model. And then after we get through the foundations of Niche on Demand, which is what these few episodes are about, we're going to start to get into the industry things. So if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, drop it in the comments on our LinkedIn or our Instagram, or shoot us an email.
On YouTube.
Or on YouTube. That's right, on YouTube as well. All right. We'll see you again soon.
Okay. Peace.